Have you ever met someone who stayed in your mind long after they left the room? Someone whose face wasn't necessarily the most attractive, whose achievements weren't the greatest, and yet there was something about them that felt magnetic. Days later, you still remembered the way they spoke, the energy they carried, the feeling they created when they were around. It's a strange phenomenon. We often assume attraction is about looks, status, or luck, but psychology tells a very different story. The truth is that attraction is one of the most misunderstood forces in human behavior. Most people spend years trying to become more attractive by changing how they look on the outside, while completely ignoring the invisible psychological forces that determine how others perceive them. And here's the fascinating part. The people who seem naturally charismatic often understand these forces without realizing it. They know how to create emotional experiences. They know how to occupy attention. They know how to leave impressions that linger. What if attraction isn't something you're born with? What if it's a skill, a psychological process that can be understood, developed, and strengthened? Because when researchers began studying human behavior, they discovered something surprising. The people we remember most aren't always the most beautiful. They're often the people who make us feel something. Think back to your favorite teacher, your favorite friend, the most influential person you've ever met. Chances are, what made them unforgettable wasn't perfection. It was the emotions they created in you. Human beings are emotional creatures first, and rational creatures second. We like to believe we make logical decisions about who we admire, trust, and remember. But our brains are constantly responding to feelings beneath our awareness. This is where the psychology of attraction begins. Not with appearance, but with attention. Attention is the gateway to attraction. In a world overflowing with information, notifications, advertisements, and distractions, attention has become one of the rarest resources on earth. Every company wants it. Every platform fights for it. Every person competes for it. The individuals who naturally attract others are often those who understand how to capture attention without demanding it. Notice something interesting. The loudest person in a room is not always the most captivating. In fact, psychology often finds the opposite. The people who command attention tend to create curiosity. They reveal enough to interest you, but not enough to satisfy you. They leave small mysteries unresolved. Your brain becomes engaged because it wants closure. Neuroscientists call this the curiosity gap. Whenever we encounter incomplete information, our minds feel compelled to fill in the missing pieces. This is why cliffhangers keep us watching television shows. It's why unfinished stories stay in our heads. And it's why some people become unforgettable. They allow curiosity to do the work. But attraction goes deeper than curiosity. At its core, attraction is about emotional association. Your brain is constantly connecting people with feelings. Every interaction leaves an emotional fingerprint. Some people become associated with stress, negativity, and criticism. Others become associated with excitement, safety, inspiration, and possibility. Imagine two conversations. In the first, someone spends 30 minutes complaining about problems. In the second, someone talks about ideas, goals, adventures, and discoveries. Which person are you more likely to remember positively? The answer seems obvious. Yet many people unintentionally train others to associate them with negativity. The most attractive individuals understand something powerful. People may forget your words, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. Every interaction is creating an emotional memory. Now, let's talk about confidence. Confidence is perhaps the most attractive trait in psychology, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Most people think confidence means believing you're better than everyone else. Real confidence is something entirely different. It's trusting yourself regardless of outcomes. Think about it. Insecurity constantly seeks validation. Confidence creates value. Insecurity asks, do they like me? Confidence asks, do I like this experience? The difference is subtle, but transformative. Psychologists have discovered that emotional states are contagious. Through a process known as emotional contagion, people unconsciously absorb the emotions of those around them. If someone enters a room feeling anxious and uncertain, others often sense it. If someone enters feeling calm and grounded, that feeling spreads as well. This is why confidence feels attractive. It's not because confidence makes someone perfect. It's because confidence communicates emotional stability. It signals that the person is comfortable with themselves. And in a world where many people are battling that comfort becomes magnetic. Another hidden factor in attraction is presence. Most people aren't fully present. They're distracted by their phones, worrying about tomorrow, replaying yesterday, or thinking about what to say next. As a result, genuine attention has become rare. Imagine talking to someone who listens completely. They maintain eye contact. They absorb your words. They respond thoughtfully, instead of waiting for their turn to speak. Suddenly, you feel important. You feel understood. You feel seen. This is one of the strongest psychological triggers of attraction. Human beings have a deep desire to feel acknowledged. Presence satisfies that desire. The irony is that becoming more attractive often requires focusing less on yourself and more on others. The people who leave the strongest impressions are often the ones who make others feel valued. Let's explore another fascinating principle: novelty. Your brain is wired to notice what is different. From an evolutionary perspective, novelty could signal opportunity or danger. As a result, unusual experiences receive special attention. This means people who develop unique perspectives naturally become more memorable. Notice how interesting individuals often have unusual hobbies, unexpected stories, or distinctive ways of viewing the world. They're not necessarily trying to stand out. They simply cultivate experiences that make them different. Most people live according to routine. They consume the same content, visit the same places, and repeat the same conversations. Over time, their personalities become predictable. Predictability feels comfortable, but it rarely feels exciting. The people who become unforgettable are often lifelong learners. They explore new ideas. They challenge assumptions. They remain curious about life. Curiosity itself is attractive because curiosity generates energy. Curious people bring freshness into conversations. They ask unexpected questions. They discover unusual connections. They transform ordinary moments into meaningful experiences. Now consider the role of storytelling. Human beings understand reality through stories. Before books, before schools, before the internet, stories were how knowledge survived. Your brain is naturally drawn to narratives because narratives organize information into meaning. This is why facts rarely captivate us on their own. Stories do. The most memorable people often communicate through stories. Instead of saying, "I learned an important lesson," they describe an experience. Instead of presenting information, they create imagery. They allow others to participate emotionally. Storytelling creates emotional transportation. For a few moments, listeners leave their own world and enter yours. That emotional journey creates connection. But perhaps the most powerful principle of attraction is authenticity. Many people spend their lives trying to become someone else. They imitate personalities, follow trends, and hide imperfections. Ironically, these efforts often make them less attractive. Psychology suggests that authenticity creates trust. Trust creates comfort, and comfort creates connection. People are remarkably skilled at detecting inconsistency. When someone's words, emotions, and actions align, they feel genuine. When they don't align, something feels off.
Authenticity doesn't mean sharing everything. It means being real about who you are. It means allowing your personality to exist without constant editing. And here's the surprising part. Imperfections often make people more relatable. Researchers have found that highly competent individuals become more likable when they display small human flaws. Perfection can feel intimidating. Humanity feels approachable. Now let's discuss something even deeper: purpose. There is something captivating about people who know why they wake up in the morning. Purpose creates direction. Direction creates momentum. Momentum creates energy. Have you noticed how passionate people seem different? Their eyes light up when they speak. Their voice changes. Their presence becomes more intense. This happens because purpose concentrates attention. It organizes behavior around meaningful goals. And meaning is deeply attractive. People naturally gravitate toward those who are moving somewhere. Not because they want to follow blindly, but because purpose reminds them of possibilities within themselves. Attraction, in its highest form, is not about making others like you. It's about becoming a person whose mindset, energy, and character inspire curiosity and connection. And perhaps that's the greatest secret of all. The people who become unforgettable are rarely obsessed with being unforgettable. They're absorbed in living fully. They're curious. They're engaged. They're learning. They're growing. They're exploring. As a result, they create stories worth telling and experiences worth remembering. The psychology of attraction is ultimately the psychology of becoming more alive. Because when you cultivate presence, confidence, curiosity, authenticity, purpose, and emotional awareness, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing attention, and attention begins finding you. You stop trying to force connections, and connections form naturally. You stop worrying about becoming interesting, because you've become genuinely interested in life itself. And when that happens, people notice. Not because you're pretending to be someone extraordinary, but because you've learned how to bring out the extraordinary in every moment. That's what makes someone unforgettable, and that's a power available to anyone willing to develop it.